Welcome to the 5-8. It's Friday night. It's Friday the 13th, LB.
Yes, it is. I
Friday the
know.
13th, yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah.
doing anything scary planned for the weekend?
No. Well, I mean, work terrifies me at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get it all done, and play with the dog and, hobble around
Yeah.
on my bum knee. That's my plan. There's
Okay.
nothing big going on. But it was nice to sort of get it together. Look, it is nice to kind of get my Friday night going. So I think there's a little Friday night happening over here. I'm in my at-home studio, everybody. So this is what it looks like where I record, just because I don't want to be down there with dogs and stuff. People. Anyway, how are you, Greg Olear?
I think I'm okay. I'm going to
Really?
do, some time-honored Friday the 13th activities planned for later after the show. I think I'm just going to round up some Knights Templar, and put them
Yes.
to the rack. I don't know. Put them to the torture. What else would I do on Friday the 13th?
I mean, you don't always have to be stuck in history, too. You could just take the ladder out of your garage, walk under it with one of your black cats, and
Yeah.
you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Break a
trying to
mirror.
think of like some like funny like horror movie-ish thing to do, and the most I could do was I have this T-shirt that's called Spoilers, and it has the spoilers of all the movies on it, and
I
that's
love
it.
it.
That's as much as I could summon for Friday the 13th, because you know what? The real news is terrifying enough. Lord knows.
Oh my God.
We all need like some rom-coms or something,
I know. We do. We need a little lighter fare. It's hell of a week. Do you want to just dive right into this?
I think we should have. Are you drinking
Okay.
anything?
Okay, so I'm having a Fresca. I swear to you, it's
I
Fresca.
love Fresca.
I love it.
Fresca's like the greatest stuff.
It's the greatest thing. I recently rediscovered it.
Mhm.
It's refreshing. It makes me feel like summer's here. So I'm into it. And you're having a Manhattan?
I'm having a Manhattan, which is
Oh,
particularly good right about now.
yeah.
Yes, I think we should kick right into it. We have an excellent guest tonight, but
Yes.
he is in Britain, and it's very, very late there. And I
Yeah.
don't know. He might be nodding off, so we should get through it. Yeah.
We got to get through it. So 5 topics, 8 minutes each, everybody. I'm
Yep.
going to set the timer here for the first topic. Here it goes. We're off.
All right. The
We're off
first
and running.
topic is some assembly required, and by assembly, we mean peaceful assembly. We
That's
mean
right.
our right to protest peacefully,
right.
whether it's in a city park or on a street or in the sidewalk in front of Brett Kavanaugh's house. And if I want to write something in chalk on a public sidewalk, God damn it, I should be able to. What do you think?
Yeah, with a rainbow of colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and not have the police called on you. Yeah.
Probably not
Yeah.
going to happen. Yeah. But there does seem to be this
Mm,
push against this. You see this now.
yeah.
We mentioned Kavanaugh. I think it's so appropriate that people are protesting at that house in particular. That house that he bought with money that is not his. That house of all houses
That's right.
to have a protest is just it's part of the simulation, clearly, but it's the neighbors that are doing the protest in front
Yes.
of the house in their own neighborhood.
Yeah.
And of course, this has been weaponized by the Fox News people as these are evil Antifa coming to wreak havoc and do violence. That's not the case. And we have this punditry class on Twitter and elsewhere tisking us for, exercising our First Amendment rights.
Tisking women. Let's be real clear about this. These are it's all been peaceful. As long as everything stays peaceful, this is our right. The far right media, the right wingers, they're gonna whatever. I don't even know what to call them now. It's not even Republican, whatever.
Ultra mega.
The ultra. Oh, thank you. Yes, that's what we call them. The ultra mega are going to do what they do no matter what. We don't take ourselves off the playing field. We don't couch one right or be afraid of one right that we have while we're trying to use it to fight for another right. That's not how it goes, everybody. And there's absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, the entire point is for these justices and anyone else on the side of coming into our bodies to be uncomfortable. They should be uncomfortable. That's all that happened, was that Brett Kavanaugh and his family and Susan Collins, who wasn't even there, got uncomfortable. Oh, we don't like this. Oh. And they saw women and immediately thought, this could be violent. It's going to be violent. It's like, yeah, no, right? That's not how it goes. And then there were punditries going, you all, how do you not get this? How do you not get, they're going to lose the momentum. If they have footage of you being peaceful, protesting, they're going to turn it into, well, of course they are. They do that every fucking time. They're going to do that with anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In fact, if you're those pundits, I heard a lot of them from all over the spectrum, right? If you're really on the side of peaceful protest and pro-democracy, and you are opposed to this fascist fucking takeover that's happening, coming through women's bodies first, because that's always how it happens. It always comes through us first. If you're really opposed to that and on the side of pro-democracy, which those protesters were expressing, then, and you think that there's an issue with all of that because, oh, Laura Ingram's going to make a video. Tucker Carlson's going to make a video and people are going to watch it. What you need to do is back us. Have our back. Don't wag your finger at us and say, blame us for their horse shit. Instead, let them do that. This is what people don't get also. The thinking that we don't understand that that's what they do. Let them do it. Because you know what we get to do with that content? We get to take that content that they make, lying, and there's nothing they can spin. It's a kid making a chalk. It's people doing wine and cheese. It's maybe some coarse words, but
it's Antifa wine and cheese, though. It's Antifa wine and it's Antifa cheese.
But we get to take that and we get to juxtapose that with footage from January 6th, and we get to make our own fucking content out of their bullshit. We get to do that. Don't think we're not creative enough to do that. And I can't think of a better protest for this moment than to show up and make people uncomfortable where they think that they can run and hide and have privacy, of which we weren't even going in and invading their privacy. We're, people, I wasn't there, but I'm not in DC, but the people weren't. The people who are protesting, I'm putting myself in that wee bucket. This is actually very creative. This is actually where it should be, because you're trying to come into our bodies and legislate. You're literally stripping away privacy rights. Roe is based on privacy, right? So that's a great protest. That's one that actually has the message and the layers to it are going to work. So have our back. Stop wagging your finger. Or maybe some of these people, when they see women gathered, they think, like I think there's a lot of that was coming out, right? Like you think because we're upset, somehow the world is going to burn to the ground. What is your problem? I participated in women's marches. There wasn't violence. These were the biggest marches this nation has ever seen. They were peaceful. If anyone can lead a march and do it peacefully and communicate and get the message across and put the pressure on the people in authority, which is the whole point of it, and create change through peaceful resistance, it's women.
Yeah.
Have our back. This isn't hard. And don't call us children. Fuck that guy that was calling us all children. Bah. Yeah, that's my rant.
The other thing that it does, I mean, it makes the people that the protest is protesting uncomfortable, which is part, as you've pointed out on your thread, that's one of the purposes of it. Yes. But the other thing that it does is it makes us who aren't participating in the protest feel heard and feel like someone is out there actually doing something. Like I can't tell you, when I heard and saw the footage of people protesting in front of Kavanaugh's house, it gave me life. I wanted to like bottle it and put it over the little fryer and inject it into my veins, because we need more of that in this country. Otherwise, it's just it's surrender. And, we have First Amendment rights now they are going to curtail the First Amendment rights if and when they come into power. It's one of the first things they're going to do. They already started to do it in like places where now it's legal to drive an F-150 into a crowd of women.
That's right.
Right. Like that's coming. They're going to make it so that we can't protest. So the time to protest isn't, you know, in some place where they tell us to go protest. It's in front of these people's houses now. Now is the time.
Now is the time. You don't give up a right to fight for another right. That's not how that's going to work.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not going to, you don't do that. Take the fight. Take the fight to the people lying and twisting and spinning and making videos and blame them for their horse shit.
That was good.
Not us.
I think every time the word horse shit happens, when the buzzer goes off, I have to drink. That's a new drinking game for the
I'll
show.
drink some more Fresca.
Okay.
Fresh. Okay.
Moving on.
Wait a minute.
Tomorrow, by the way, protests everywhere in this great land of ours. There's going to be lots and lots of protests tomorrow.
That's right.
I'm wishing peace and good vibes for everybody that's going to go participate in a protest tomorrow. You know, let's show everybody what we're made of. Okay.
That's
Next topic about Schmidt. You get how the first two are movie titles? Did you get that?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. You Hollywood person. Did you see what I did?
I saw what you did.
Okay.
You blame me. You call me that, but you're just getting optioned, so it's fine.
I am not Hollywood at all. Yeah.
I'm not either. I don't even know what that means. Okay.
I don't know either. Wait, before we move on, I want to see can you see this if I hold it up close? Probably not. It says Dwight D. Eisenhower, Antifa. This is a pin that I bought. It's pretty awesome. I like it. Okay, next topic about Schmidt. We're talking, of course, about Steve Schmidt, who's been like spilling the tea like he's a Tea Party tea spiller or something.
Yes.
And I'm not really entirely sure what to make of it, but there's a lot of stuff about McCain that came out.
Right.
And I feel like we need to address it. I'm not really interested in the internal politics of his group there, but I think that some of the stuff that he's revealed is telling, you know, starting with the McCain group's or the campaign's ties to Russia.
Yeah.
What was the guy's name?
Davis.
Rick. What is it? Rick Davis?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So
I just know Davis and Manafort.
Yeah,
Davis.
we've got these guys that are like, they're Russian up and they're running these campaigns. And what they do in the campaigns is they pick the vice presidents.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
The woman who randomly commented that she could see Russia from her house.
I think she didn't actually say that.
A little bit of Russia on her brain.
Tina Fey said that. I think Tina Fey said it based on something.
No. Yeah.
It was similar though. It was similar.
Yeah, it was almost verbatim. Okay, so here's what we were just talking about actually before we went live, everyone, with our guest a little bit. So I hope he could pick up a little bit on this. Look, we're an open society. That our enemies, they can see who we elevate, who our leaders are. You know, especially if someone like McCain comes and punches at the Kremlin, and calls Putin out and calls Rand Paul out from the Senate floor of being, you know, owned by Vladimir Putin. Even though I think that happened after his campaign in 2008, but they're known entities. It's like the Kennedys, you know, that's a big glossy name, or Harvard. That's a big glossy name that we in our society imbue with authority.
The New York Times, big glossy name.
Times. You know, do you really think that the place that had one of the greatest intelligence agencies, especially human intelligence, turning people up all over the place, for decades and decades, you think they don't know how to like go and put their finger on someone and maybe make it messy for them, maybe get some information, maybe have some leverage?
What you're saying?
I mean, it's just like, come on, everybody. Of course, this is happening. Whether it actually happened with McCain or not, and Schmidt's telling the truth, I don't know. I mean, who knows? Like, look at these guys. Like, I don't trust any of these people. But I think it's important that we start putting our caps on and looking at things in this way, that this is the world that we're in, and stop being naive idiots. There.
Okay, stop being naive idiots. I think that my personal theory is that they were trying to dirty up McCain. That's what I think. In the same way that they try to dirty up Joe Biden, I am convinced that they gave Hunter the job at Burisma. Burisma, which is the board of directors that Hunter Biden sat on in Ukraine, is a dirty, dirty, bad news organization that anybody who spends 5 minutes reading about would run for the fucking hills before they worked for that company.
Right.
He needed to do it. He needed the money. He had problems. They knew it. It just, it smacks of an op to me. And the fact that the Republicans are screaming about it now, still years later, that's it. That was their thing. That, because remember, the two people that Putin hit the hardest during the campaign, during the primaries, were who? Biden and Harris. That's it. We have the two most anti-Putin people running our government right now, which is a good thing. Now there's also go ahead.
Yeah,
I was going to tell my McCain at the Unity story.
Yeah. Okay.
Time for that, or do you want?
Yes. Yeah, we got 3 minutes.
All right. So another thing is that McCain, was, I don't know, there was rumors of an affair or something like that. So I have a story. I was when I worked for Associated Press back in the day, I was in HR. I was a recruiter. I was not a journalist, but I worked for the company. And every year, there's organizations of journalists that are, there's National Association of Black Journalists, Hispanic Journalist Association, NAJA, Native American Journalist Association, Asian American Journalist Association. Every year they have their own conventions, right? Where they go and they rent a hall and they all go to talks and stuff like that. Every 5 years, they would combine and have one big convention called Unity. And they had one in, I think it was July of 1999, Unity in Seattle. When I went there, it was 95 degrees everywhere in the United States except Seattle. And I stepped off the plane like, oh, this is wonderful. So everybody that was going to run for president was at this event. Everybody. So you had, obviously McCain was there. Bill Bradley was there. Al Gore was there. Jesse Jackson was there. He stood next to me in line at the buffet. He's really tall, like much taller than you think. Anyway, so we're at our booth. It's like a slow afternoon. There's a very pretty woman working like right in front of the booth, sitting at the table. Okay. McCain strides by with his purposeful, I'm not paying any attention walk, sees her, does this beautiful, like sort of pivot backwards, extending his hand. And he's like, ignoring everyone else. There's like 20 people. And he's like, hi, I'm John McCain. And I was like, oh, wow, look at you. You've got a little bit of game, John McCain. So
imagine
that it tracks with Schmidt's story is what I'm saying. The other thing about that day is that George W. Bush was in Seattle, but was not coming to Unity. And everyone was mad about it. All the journalists were making a big deal about it. How dare he not go? And I barely knew who he was at that point because it was early on. The door of the convention hall opened. He came in the front door, surrounded like he was goddamn Elvis. Snaked through the convention hall, went out the back door, never to be seen again. You would have thought it was like the second coming in this thing. And I thought in July of 99, oh shit, that guy is going to win. He's going to be the next president. And I was right. So I did not call Trump, but I totally knew W. Totally called W.
Yeah, it's all about the energy you bring into the arena, Yeah. It's about that. So
the other point that I had written down was Sarah Palin and him picking Sarah Palin and how she is the prototypical, sort of the prototype for what became Ultra MAGA, right?
She unleashed the hate, and we all watched it. It was that speech at the convention, and you could see people's faces literally change because she made it okay for them to unleash all of that. And it never went back in the bottle. She knew what she was doing. She knew what she was doing.
She did.
Okay, that's it.
All right, we're gonna have our guest is coming up. We're gonna have a quick commercial break.
Okay.
And this is the only week I can use this because you'll see why in a second.
Okay.
And then we're gonna bring in our guest. I'm very excited. Okay, here we go. Hi, I'm Dr. Oz, and I'm running for Senate in the great state of Pennsylvania. I got confused because I don't actually live in Pennsylvania. I'm besties with Recep Erdogan, the authoritarian leader of Turkey. You know, the strongman who talked to Trump on the phone all the time, the guy Mike Flynn was working for, the fascist who sent his jackbooted thugs to beat up protesters here in Washington. Yeah, that's my homie. During the pandemic, I suggested that opening schools and losing 3% of our student population to COVID death was a risk worth taking. I still believe that. Because of these qualifications. Again, I'm totally chill with kids dying and pals with a legit dictator and willing to run for office in a place where I don't live. I'm a natural fit with the Republican Party. But I'm also Oprah's guy, which will hopefully confuse Democrats. Plus, I have the same name as a certain beloved wizard, who, like me, turned out to be a giant self-aggrandizing fraud. So if you live in Pennsylvania, and hey, even if you don't, vote Oz in 2022. Pennsylvania needs a conservative who will put America first. The lives of a few million innocent children is a small price to pay for freedom. And now, back to the show. Yeah. All right. The primary is this week. If you live in Pennsylvania, please don't vote for that guy.
Oh, God. It's just...
You don't need any more foreign assets in the,
No.
Don't vote for Mehmet. Vote for somebody else is what I say. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. We have to retire that now.
Okay.
Did you like my Oz voice? Was my Oz voice okay?
I love it when you say that. Hi. You always say hi the same.
It's always in the
no
same
matter who
tone.
you're impersonating, it's always hi.
Hi. That's my wife's favorite part too. Okay. So our guest, he's it's late there. Oh my God. It's so late for him. Okay. He is the author of a book that's coming out soon this year, we think, in the United States. It's called How Britain Broke the World. Ooh. Yeah. He's a former diplomat, longtime diplomat. He is the host of an excellent podcast called Doomsday Watch, and he is the managing director of Orbis Business Intelligence. Arthur Snell, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. It's the middle of the night, but it's worth staying up for this, so that's cool.
Oh, thank
you. See, he's a
Arthur.
diplomat, so he knows to say the nice things. I was going to say, I'm glad, How Britain Broke the World. I'm glad you wrote that book because that means that we Americans can continue to pretend that we had nothing to do with breaking the world. So it makes me happy. So thank you.
It's everybody got a role. It's not, we didn't break it on our own. We had help from our friends over there. So
Yeah. I felt that title as soon as Greg said it. I felt it. I felt that in my bones. I was like, oh, yeah. It's like, you just, there's going to be some truth bombs in there, I'm sure, of how you weave it together. So nice to see you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So you've been doing these great, anybody that doesn't listen to the podcast, the podcast is fantastic. It's the first series of it were, interviews where you take a look at various places around the world and, how, like where to use LB's phrase, boom is about to happen, where like these critical events are about to take place and what might be happening. And you have these wonderful guests on, super experts talking about it. And then after that sort of wrapped, you've been doing these war bulletins. So how did you decide to do that? Whose idea was that? How did that come about?
Well, it was basically, so we did that first series, which was kind of about stuff that might go wrong in the world. And then one of those things went spectacularly wrong. Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. And particularly here in Europe, it feels quite close by, and so we felt we needed to try and just give a kind of a tracking of what's happening in the conflict. So we've tried to tackle it from slightly unusual angles that perhaps aren't being covered in the sort of the mainstream media. I don't want to sound like a Fox News guy, but you know what I mean. So we've had episodes on like what India thinks about the war. What about the perspective of Germany, about some of these Nordic countries like Finland that now want to join NATO? And we're just trying to cover it from all the different angles.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's a good, I don't know, you just have, who to call and who to interview. And I encourage everybody to listen. It's called Doomsday Watch. Subscribe to it, please. There's also a Patreon. You're British, Patreon, that you can subscribe to.
That's right.
So
please be a Patreon.
Yeah, it sounds more elegant that way. So, all right. So first of all, what, as of this moment, what's the deal in Ukraine right now? Not to make light of it, but, it's been obviously this horrible thing. And it's clear that Russia is going to lose, but are they, and when, and what does that mean? What are you hearing? What's your analysis? What's going on there?
So as everybody will have followed the first stage of Russia's war failed completely. They couldn't take Kiev, the capital. They lost loads of troops. They lost even more of their, heavy armor and so on. So they've now kind of redeployed down to the southeast of the country, and those are the bits down in the Donbass region where they actually seized back in 2014. So actually, the Russians have been there now for several years. So I think what makes it difficult now is that these are areas where the Russians have been dug in for years. So even with the incredible performance of the Ukrainian military, it's going to be very difficult for them to dislodge the Russians from those areas, the Donbass areas. So I think it's going to become this kind of very slow-moving, kind of messy stalemate situation. And then inevitably there'll be pressure on the Ukrainians, from outside, people saying, "Oh, you should do a deal now. You've got to give the Russians something to walk away with," and all that kind of stuff. So I'm afraid this thing is going to run on. And of course, you get fatigue. The degree to which the international community keeps engaging might drop away a bit, which is tough, of course.
Yeah.
So what can we do to keep that from happening? Do we have to keep paying attention, Arthur, at a high degree? As long as the public is invested in paying attention and said, no. What did they actually listen to us when it comes to this war? I'm not sure. I got to be honest.
I mean, I think the US, whatever we might say about some other things, the US has done a great job on this. They've provided really serious support to the Ukrainians in ways that we know about, and there's probably a lot of support we don't know about, and that's obviously been really important too on the kind of intel side. There are, of course, people, in the political sphere over there where you are who don't really care about this, and clearly Donald Trump would have, on the flip of a coin, would have given away Ukraine perfectly happily. So I think, this is a defining battle for freedom and for democracy. And it's so strange because both the US and the UK ended up going on some crazy wars and saying they were about freedom and democracy, and they weren't. They were just crazy wars in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. And this is the one. This is the one. Yeah. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
We got to clip that.
About you. Yeah. Can I just ask? I want to know about your book.
Can
you tell us a little bit about your book? What's in it? What the frame of it is? What the point of view? How far back do you go? I really do. I really want to know about it.
Okay, so I start just before the millennium, so in '99, and that is when you had the conflict in Kosovo, in the former Yugoslavia, and that was Tony Blair's first kind of big rodeo. He hadn't been prime minister for very long. He was very popular, very successful. He actually kind of persuaded Bill Clinton to get into that conflict, and a lot of people look at that now and they see it as a big sort of battle for kind of human rights and protecting the people of Kosovo. But it also had this other impression. It had this other effect where it was these wars of intervention, where it kind of set the stage for then what would happen a few years later with Iraq. And what I noticed with both Kosovo and Iraq, and then later you had Afghanistan, you had Libya, and so on, is there was this kind of pattern where the Brits were always trying to be, almost because we want to prove ourselves to be useful to you guys in America, right? So we're always trying to prove that we're even more enthusiastic about invading these places than you are, and we're almost like ahead. It's like, come on, we're ready. We're like that annoying little kid who's kind of running ahead. And so that's what kind of happened with the Iraq War. In the early days, when there was talk of an invasion of Iraq, the CIA were complaining that they didn't have any intel and they had to rely on the Brits to get the intel. But that was intel that all proved to be wrong. Remember, Saddam Hussein was supposed to have these weapons of mass destruction. Well, there weren't any. So I follow this path. I follow this kind of pathway of British actions and the effect that it's happened on the wider world. And of course, it's not to excuse the people who've screwed up in other places, Vladimir Putin, maybe Donald Trump. There's a few people out there, but it's from a perspective of a British person trying to understand our own country's role.
What do you think of what Boris Johnson's doing like right now, because obviously I think of Johnson as just Trump with a slightly different hairstyle and a cooler accent. But like when I saw the clip of him going to Kiev visiting with Zelensky, I was like, oh my God, this is sort of amazing. And I feel like Biden managed to reassemble NATO and the Western Alliance in about 3 weeks, which is, I think, really important and something he doesn't get any credit for. And Boris Johnson seemed to be eagerly falling in line. What's your take on what's going on with that?
So basically, on the kind of classically the sort of defense policy stuff, I think Johnson's done a great job. I don't like him. I'd never vote for him, but he did a good job. He, you know, the Brits were there very early on supplying the defensive weapons. So you guys have this thing called the Javelin anti-tank, and we've got one called the NLAW, and you know they've had loads of those in the Ukrainian military, and they've used them to blow up a lot of Russian tanks. So that's brilliant. And Johnson, like you say, turned up there in Kiev, and it's clear that Zelensky likes him. So you know that's a fact. But then at the same time, the political movement that Johnson is the head of is the same political movement that has turned London into the biggest laundromat in the world for dirty Russian money. And they've taken money, they've been funded by Russian oligarchs, they've been funded by people close to Putin. And of course, since February and since the invasion, everyone's now, you know, trying to sort of pretend that was never really a thing, and they're putting sanctions. And you know, the guy who bought Chelsea Football Club has now been sanctioned. And
Abramovich,
But that's just the people being sanctioned is just the very tip of the iceberg, the bit that you can see.
Well, they're not dealing with Jersey and Guernsey. They're not dealing
and all these offshore and the British Virgin Islands, and you know we could go on these little dots of the old British Empire that are still being used as the big laundromats, and the, you know, it's one of Britain's leading industries is financial engineering. It's taking money and making it look like it came from somewhere else. And
well, it's the lawlessness around the money is the product that they're selling, right?
Exactly.
So they're actually selling piracy.
A good old tradition.
Piracy.
It's called privateers.
Privateers.
Oh,
Get it
privateers.
Right.
Privateers.
But it's the 21st century version of what they were doing when they were kind of robbing the Spanish ships coming back across the Atlantic in the 1600s.
If you were in a certain territory, it was legal and sanctioned, and you were a privateer. If you were outside, you were a pirate.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing.
One man pirate is Her Majesty's privateer.
It's the same thing. I know we're out of time. Can I ask you one more question before you go to bed?
This is the one guest that wants us to be out of time. He's tired.
I got to go ahead. Go on. Ask
Okay, quickly. 1 minute. What's the deal with Putin? Is Putin really sick? What do you hear anything about that, or do you know?
Tell us.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend I've got, you know, access to the inside intel, but I was talking to somebody who looked at these videos, studied very closely, a physician, and I think it's very likely he's got some complex issue there, possibly some kind of Parkinson's. Don't forget, he's not a young man, and he's in a country, you know, Russian men don't usually live beyond their 70s, and he's in his 70s, so, you know.
Okay. Well, there's some good news for
I'm
today.
scared about
I'll
who's
leave you with
gonna
that happy
replace
thought.
him.
Yeah,
My concern is who steps in there.
And that's, you know, that is the problem, that it's not, you know, he's not going to be replaced by some lovely Democratic guy. You know, they're not going to pull Navalny out of jail. There's this whole world of grey men who are there, and they all think and act just the way he does, and that's
they're going to stick
be realistic
in there. That's what we learned all this from Yuri Shevets, who was months almost over a year ago.
I know. Time has no meaning. Okay, so it's Doomsday Watch. The book is called How Britain Broke the World. Arthur Snell, thank you so much for staying up late for us. We really appreciate it.
It was worth it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Good night. All right.
I love the Brits.
He's great. He's
really good.
I'm glad he came on. I'm glad he stayed up late. I was surprised he stayed up late because it's late in Britain.
It's
like,
late.
What is it?
I hope our friend Stuart Sevray is up too. So
it's almost 2 in the morning.
He got to hear all that.
Okay. It's not time for announcements yet, but we can take a breather. I think we're running a pretty good clip here. Do you have anything to say? Anything to say based on what Arthur said? I thought that was good information, man.
it's good information. I feel like I do I do feel like we're in boom on so many things. Like it's just sort of we're just in this moment of um as much as you bring perspective, I do a whole series about bringing historical context in so we can understand everything's reflecting and looking back and a lot of people come in and prognosticate, blah 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 blah. I just like even just having him there, I feel like okay, we just all got to stay really present to today as we go through these things. I'm very worried
Yeah.
about. I don't think Ukraine's going to fall. I'm concerned about what's going on with democracy. And Arthur's very lovely and has a lovely accent, and he's got a great book that says we're broken. And so that's
Yeah.
I
It
don't
isn't
wanna
even
be
it isn't even a question in the title.
and a
It's
doomsday,
we all
and
know the
it's
world is right. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
wait, are you saying we're in boom? Say it, we're in boom.
we're in boom. I hoping we're not. Gosh, I love
Thank
this
you. We get
conversation.
sound effects here. All the big
Very
money stuff
exciting.
coming your way.
Very
All the
exciting. What
bells
about
and
you? What do
whistles.
you think?
Literally.
Did
No,
you
I
have
think
more you
I
wanted to
think
say
it's
about
interesting because
McCain? Or
what's that?
do you feel complete about the whole we forgot to bring up with him that the McCain got the dossier, right? So that was the other thing.
Yeah, McCain got the dossier, but also, McCain. Think about it this way, okay? McCain doesn't like Putin anyway. Then he knows that this shit is happening with his campaign. Now he hates Putin even more.
Right.
Now he's yelling at Rand Paul and saying on the floor of the fucking Senate, you're doing the work of Vladimir Putin. And now people know, they know to get him the stuff because they know that he's one of the good guys. And he is. He was, I think he was one of the good guys. And thinking about it in the fight against totalitarianism, against the Russians, against this shit. The guy was is a prisoner of war for how long? He doesn't like these people. He knows how awful these people are.
I just can't imagine. I don't know. I'm in that camp too, but it doesn't mean there wasn't a full court press from the most dangerous, intelligence agencies around, because they're all, the Kremlin's got friends in other places too, to dirty him up, get him on yachts. He was on Deripaska's yacht, for God's sakes, and we knew that
in
years and years
Montenegro,
ago. Mm-hmm.
Which was Montenegro. Montenegro, okay, was that's who they wanted to have go into NATO, and Rand Paul said no. And that's why McCain called him a Putin puppet or whatever he called him, because of Montenegro. So see, I think McCain put that in his memory and he was like, fuck these guys. Also, by the way, doesn't Deripaska have some deal in Kentucky?
He's got some deal in Kentucky. I don't know I actually have to check back in with I think that did get killed. And he, he got raided a year ago plus, I think maybe, or less, more or less.
I forgot about that.
We don't know what's happening with that. Is there an investigation? This guy's been doing deals with the U.S. government for a long time. He tried very, very hard around the Bob Levinson capture to get a visa saying that to come in, because we weren't letting him into the United States. And he wanted a visa. He was a very dangerous dude. This is an organized crime. As far as what U.S. intelligence was and what reporting was coming out around him. And so that Barry Meyer book on Missing Man on Bob Levinson details a lot about what the U.S. government was doing with Deripaska, trying to orchestrate a deal with him for information on where Bob Levinson might have been being held. So why would Deripaska know? You start to have to ask questions a little deeper of like, well, why would that guy know that? Who was he in business with that he would know that? Or that U.S. intelligence thought that he might know that. Whether he did or not, he was just using it and playing games. I don't know. I know that he's been on our radar in terms of the U.S. government's radar for quite some time. So I want to know what they pulled out of his house. I saw some art. Let's see what kind of shit's going down there.
Wasn't he didn't Manafort owe him a bunch of money?
Yep, he was the one that Manafort was trying to get whole with by going and working for Donald.
And then he was like, "Hey, OVD, blah, blah, I'm working for Donald now. Blah blah blah. Look at me. Blah blah blah. Blah blah. Good for you.
That's right.
Manafort. Manafort should be in prison and isn't.
No,
Yeah.
He's just
All
walking
right.
around. Okay.
Next topic.
Next topic is, let me do my thing.
I want to make clear also, Arthur is a longtime diplomat and now is the managing director at Orbis, which is also Christopher Steele's outfit.
That's right.
It's a small
I wasn't
outfit.
expecting him to be so young.
He's younger than me. I know. I told him my first interview with him, I was like, I feel like I've wasted my life away. Like, you've done all this incredible stuff. He was in charge of Britain's counterterrorism thing in, I think, Afghanistan, like during that whole period when Flynn was there and stuff too. So he was in rooms with Flynn, and he knows a lot. He's very knowledgeable.
He's very knowledgeable. All right,
and he stayed up late for us, LB. He stayed up late.
I can't believe. Well, for you, everybody loves you. Here we go.
Okay, Pandora's boxes.
Pandora's boxes, go.
Well, Donald Trump had like many boxes of fucking classified information that he just had. Just had it, just took it with him. Like one does. And I don't know. Hillary sent like 10 emails that were like recipes. And the New York Times wouldn't shut the fuck up about it for like 6 months. But Trump takes actual files out of the fucking White House with him. Like, not just a box, like many boxes. You know? Like moving van level shit.
To the degree that there's photographic evidence of it being transported.
Yeah. As it turns out, some of that might be classified information. Some of it might be related to the coup attempt of January 6th, the besieging of the Capitol. But the good news is, grand jury, man, it looks like the Department of Justice in this case is going to investigate and, God willing, throw the book at this fucking guy finally. And I think maybe appropriately, because this is something that he did in this capacity as if he took classified information and sold it, which seems likely.
That's another whole other level. Yeah.
It seems likely. If that's what he did, that's not his fucking mob shit. That's him betraying the United States government and the safety of all of us.
He's full Aldrich Ames.
I think that's full on espionage, borderline treason, and since Bill Barr signed the paper, capital offense, LB. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. I forgot Bill Barr wanted to bring all that back. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
People are saying.
I think it's important to say. And also, I always go, I do feel like it's so easy to predict where he's going to come back with that. And then everyone will just freeze because they don't know how to handle what he might say. He might just say, well, I'm president. I declassified it all before I went. Prove that I didn't. And then people come, no, there's a whole process and there's underlings and they don't, these other people can't get blamed and process. And they go, yeah, whatever. I didn't want to do the process. So what? I don't have to do the process. I was the president. I didn't have to do the process. And then everyone freezes and thinks that argument somehow is always his argument of, I had the power. I used the power. Come get me. Fuck off. That's his position always. And everyone just sort of claps and says, well, I guess you did. I guess the president does have that kind of power. And we don't know. It's unprecedented. We don't want to, we can't. How can we investigate? Who knows? And would a jury ever convict? Because he'll just say, I declassified. I'm just ready for it. I'm not saying this is what's coming. I'm not trying to give a prognosis here. It's just the same fucking playbook over and over and over again of, yeah, so what? Come get me. And he can play it here, and everyone can bark at me. We can get legal Twitter. Oh, blah, 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 blah. No, we can't because that's section 8J. I'm like, it has no bearing on this guy. It's never had any bearing on this motherfucker. No law, no code, no nothing. He just goes, yeah, so what? Come get me.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be about the spine of the people who have the authority to come and get him. And then it's going to be about the process. Once you do come and get him, it's going to be about a jury. It's going to be about, all of that. And it's going to be about whether there can even be a a clean trial and something like that. We don't know.
Well, the thing of it is, when you have someone as formidable and macho as this guy, I mean, what can you do? I mean, how can we defeat him, LB? Look at him. Look at the manliness. Look at the mastery. Look at the man boobs on him. I mean, this is the guy that Kevin McCarthy went to kiss the ring of. He barely knows where he is. These guys, it's worse than Potemkin Village here. This is like, look at Donald put the ball in the hole. Good boy. Was it you that said it was like he's potty trained? Like, oh, good. You aimed and you hit the toilet. Good boy, Donald. Good boy. Good boy.
It's that he also, like, he threw down his putter and if you saw the video and he walked around like, oh, I did it. It was like a mic drop moment for him, which is fine. Okay. But it with the people around, the sycophancy.
Who is that guy there? That guy with his hand extended?
He looks like some kind of golf pro. Who knows? He's got the weird belt. But the weird belt guy, and then there was a golf cart lady, and they're just like, oh, as if this was, why does there's something so wrong with these people. Yes, we can identify everything's wrong, but this is embarrassing. You're embarrassing yourselves. And I honestly don't think they can see it. They're so swept up in proximity to power. And the way that people are dressing going into Mar-a-Lago now, there's pictures of these women with birds on them and it's just getting very Caligula to me, and very strange and very weird. And like
Caligula was fun. At least Caligula
a nightmare dream, like a Dolly. Yeah, it's like a Dolly version of it, but no one's having a good time except for the people who are reveling in hate and cruelty. It's just, I guess this comes with cruelty. I don't know. This is what comes with it? Is you drop a putter and prance around like you've done something, and people praise you for pooping in your diaper. I'm aghast, but not aghast. We've seen it. Who cares? But also, this is the kind of content we can use. This is the way you kind of make this guy and this movement an embarrassment for people. It's possible. Don't shame people based on what your stuff is. Shame them based on what their stuff is, and it will work. I'm tired of hearing that. Well, they're shameless. They're shameless. No, they're not. They get embarrassed. I'd be embarrassed.
Why would you want to be at Mar-a-Lago right now? Like, you could not pay me enough money. Like, when I die and go to hell, they're going to hand me a cup of hazelnut coffee, and they're going to whisk me into the buffet line at Mar-a-Lago with the fucking bad eggs, the overcooked eggs,
and
the generic ketchup brand.
Yes.
Yeah. And everyone there is going to be, it's like a Sartre play, like, here we are forever in all eternity. Hell is other people. No, hell is MAGA people. That's what hell is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think you're right. Is that all we have to say about those boxes?
I think that, because you know what, the next thing is,
I don't know what's going to happen with them. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know why. Look, we know that the records are a thing. We don't know if it's going to be a thing.
We don't
Everyone
care
can get excited about it. Whatever.
What it is, though. If Garland gets him on anything, I'm fine. I'll do a mea culpa. I'm happy about it. Just if he sold shit to foreign powers.
Oh my God.
Which, spoiler alert, he absolutely would do. There's no question that he would if he thought he could get away with it. He has no moral code at all. And we'll leave that hanging. Now we're going to go to the last one. Oh, do we have any announcements?
No.
Do I have any announcements? I had a good podcast today, LB. I had Brent Tannehill on my podcast.
To it. Yeah.
Did you? Yeah, it was good. I thought it was up your alley because it was really depressing and suggested that we're all gonna die. That we're so far right of boom. Did you see? I asked her about the boom.
I did.
She was like, "There's no boom.
Yeah.
We're already, it's past the whatever."
We're past. Yeah. Well, explain to people what that was. But it's again this conversation about minority rule.
She calls it minoritarian rule, which I think is a great.
Oh, that's great.
That's a great way of expressing it. And there's another thing that she didn't coin it, but it's in her book. It's called competitive. I think it's competitive authoritarianism, which is like sort of quasi, which is the way things are going now in authoritarian countries. It isn't like they don't need to have the secret police around all the time because they can just control shit without that. So why bother? Just watch Tucker Carlson and you don't need the secret police because most of you people are fucking dumb. We just dumb it all down, find some scapegoats and whatever. And, one of the things in the podcast that was interesting is she was talking about what is life like in these fascist countries. And, for most people, it's fine. It's just boring, and you can't change anything. And those are the things that are bad. But
you're stuck with whatever the state does to you, whatever it is. And she did, as I recollect, compare our trajectory much aligned it with Hungary. So this is sort of
in her book, which is a great book, American Fascism, great book, really well written, despite the depressing title. Good, it's a good read.
Okay, all right. Last topic, which is we're getting there with this one, the arena.
Okay, so this is you thought of this frame today, and I think it's interesting because there's different ways that we can fight the forces of evil here, right? And one of the ways is we indict all these motherfuckers, but we have no control over that. I have zero. I like to think I have some control over what Merrick Garland does because we have the same birthday, but I do not. No. Any more than I can control what Greg Abbott does because we have the same birthday. I have no control. I'm embarrassed that I have birthdays with Greg Abbott. Anyway, but what we can't control is the arena, and by arena you mean what?
Okay, so what I mean not just the town square, but the energy and the space where the fight happens, and the political fight for the future of where we're headed, right? Who's going to determine it? I do believe, I think we want to all listen to the experts, and we want to all listen even to our leaders who are saying that this midterm election is it. The last election, the presidential election, yes, that was so important. That was it. And here we are again because this minority rule still has a grip, and we cannot let them get back into power now until at least some of what's happening in the other space, which is the judicial, I don't want to call it, like the justice space, works itself out. So we can see, we need time. Garland needs time.
Yeah.
And absolutely don't believe that, let's say the midterms in the House is lost and the Senate is lost. Mitch McConnell will get rid of the filibuster. Kevin McCarthy, or Elise Stefanik, it looks like she's taking him out. They will impeach Biden and Harris, and the Senate will convict, and they'll be gone.
They don't have the votes. They don't have the votes to convict in the Senate. They don't have 60 votes.
They're gonna change. He'll change the filibuster.
It doesn't matter. They need 2/3.
I know you keep saying that, and everyone keeps saying that process. I'm saying they don't care anymore. They don't care. These people won't even.
No, they can't change the Constitution. You need 2/3 of the vote to remove somebody in impeachment. That's why we can't get rid of these fuckers now.
Okay.
They will impeach him.
I hear you.
Yeah.
They will impeach him. They will they will do everything they can to remove. It will be the end. This is what I'm getting to. This is what I'm getting to. Okay. And you can argue about whether they're allowed to do that or not. It doesn't matter. They're just assuming the power to do it, and there's nobody there to stop them. That is the point. Who's going to stop them? The Supreme Court? Who's going to stop them?
I know who. Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is going to stop them.
Schumer's going to stop them. All right. So here, I want to just uncollapse this thing. Okay. So you and I get pushback anytime from people who are in the end result of, you just don't understand justice. Garland's got it all covered. Of course, all these indictments are going to come down. Stop pressuring and stop complaining and blah, 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 blah. And this January committee doesn't have any authority to go after anybody, but they're collapsing everything into the justice bucket. Mm-hmm. And so that anything you and I or folks like us have to say, we get this pushback from our side of the camp, which I would like to have that stop, because it disintegrates everybody's focus, and it fucks up the arena, which is what is getting collapsed. So there's the justice track, and then there's the arena. January 6th is the arena. It's part of it. This is all about how do you grab a hold of the narrative and the energy so that when the American people show up to vote, first of all, they're inspired to vote, and they show up to vote, and they vote for a clear future. They vote for democracy. That's the arena. That gets slugged out in the arena. Okay? That's not, and yes, we need these indictments to start raining down. Why? Because we can use that in the arena.
Right.
When we can say, when they can say, when the right, the MAGA, ultra MAGA gets to say, if Donald Trump was guilty of everything that these crazy people thought he said he was, he would be indicted by now. There would be charges. They said Russia, that was all a hoax. Look, it was everything that we know is blatant criminality that we watch this motherfucker commit right in front of us, right? Even the past stuff that we know about him, the stuff that Alvin Bragg was supposed to take care of, that he just swept under the rug. As long as Donald Trump and all these other motherfuckers, the insurrectionists, keep getting to be able to get away with it in the eyes of the people, they are winning in the arena. They are winning in the arena. If we're not going to get indictments coming down from justice, if justice isn't going to work to where we have that material to bring into the arena and say, no, look, they did do an insurrection. They did do, this is sedition. These are high crimes. You know, this is what's happening here. We need those truths. We need the truth. We need the content. Now, January 6th is set up specifically for that, but they also have, they're going to, you know, hopefully we'll have these hearings. They'll lay out the case. They'll give all this energy into the arena. They'll give people like Greg and I and all of you the material that we need to keep pushing and fighting and making it known and making it clear. We must stop this. This was an authoritarian grab. This was a fascist grab. Okay. This was it. This was the most anti-democratic thing that's ever happened. This was an assault so that people could keep power, maintain power, despite the will of the people, throwing out votes, changing false electors, all of that shit. The day itself, using these white supremacist militias to come in and barrel through, okay, actually invading the Capitol, looking to tie people up possibly. What the fuck happened with all of that? We're going to get that story. We bring that into the arena. That is the arena. That's where we fight. That's where we fight, and we help sway the nation so that people show up and they vote correctly, and they vote in numbers, and they give us a majority in numbers that we can keep fighting. Now, the January 6th committee also has power and authority to execute some justice in and of themselves, and they haven't used it yet. And I have an issue with this, and I know you have an issue with this. You were the one for years that was saying, get creative. My God, this contempt. You've got Corey Lewandowski or, you know, Bill Barr even lying in front of him. Hold them in contempt. Have the sergeant at arms, take him down, put him in the little prison cell, right? It's like the failure to use that power to actually be willing to. I don't know any other situation, especially an insurrection, where the need to use that power as given by our founders should be dismissed or somehow, well, they'll use it against us. And, you know, and all this sort of weird game of mirrors and shit that they're playing with that, rather than just do it. Just do it. Use your power and strength. We need to see, especially now, especially women who are having our rights stripped from us. And there's apparently nothing we can do but march, which is fine. We'll march. Because there's not enough votes. They don't have enough. They don't know how to use their majority. We're Schumering around all of this stuff to use your thing. That the power that is inherent to protect us is being used. If we don't see that getting used to the full extent, knowing that the other folks would use it on us in 2 seconds, but for some reason the Democrats are afraid to do it, or they won't do it, or they think it's some line to be crossed, that failure is the thing that hands the arena in the win back over to the Republicans. Yeah. So it's a flip of the switch in your brain to get it, but it's also, if you don't do this, if we don't see you fighting where you do have the power to fight, you're going to lose people. You're going to lose the mojo. You're no longer going to be George Bush wafting his way through, it's the arena. So Greg and I would like people to stop attacking us and saying we don't understand the difference between the Justice Department and the J6 committee and all of that. That needs to stop. We're making it very clear, or keep doing it. I don't care. Knock yourself out, right? But for the audience to understand, these things keep getting collapsed, and they need to be uncollapsed. Justice and what comes down for indictments, and the arena, and what the fight is, and where the fight needs to be taken there, and that there are some laws that the arena, the J6 committee, and some power there, inherent power there, that they can use to enforce compliance with those subpoenas. There are consequences they can deliver.
And there's shit that can happen from that. Okay, let's say they subpoena Ted Cruz, Tuberville, and Josh Hawley. And let's say that they refuse the subpoenas. Okay, we arrest the three of them. And while they're in the little prison, we vote on the filibuster.
That's right.
And then the filibuster dies and we pass the voting rights. And then we expand the Supreme Court while they're still down there.
That's right.
Get fucking creative.
Right.
If I can think of it, the people whose job it is to think of it should be able to think of it.
That's right. And so here's the thing, to say, oh no, we would never do that, because if we do that, then it's going to happen. Then it will never be.
No matter what.
It's happening.
No matter what. Yeah.
They're coming no matter what.
They don't play by the rules. They're not playing the same game. They're just throwing shit on everything. That's their game. It's like bishop to knight 3. Okay, I'm going to throw this feces onto the chessboard. Oh, okay. Rook to pawn to queen 6. No, I'm going to throw another feces onto the chessboard. It's not the same fucking thing. Stop acting like it is. And that's the coinage, LB, that we coined today at lunchtime when we talked, which is the politician that pretends that we're all acting like we used to act 25 years ago. If you do that, that is called Schumering.
Schumering.
We're not going to Schumer you.
Right.
We're going to actually do other shit. So I want to.
Before we go, I just want to button this again. The two things cannot be simultaneously true. We cannot say that this is it. They will assume power. It will be fascism. We will never have another free and fair election again in our nation. Our democracy is over if because of the trajectory of how these people, that the track that they're on and what they're saying they're going to do, because of what they tried to do for the insurrection that we're learning about with the fake electors and the blah 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 blah. Okay, that either that's true, or that's just a bunch of fear and it's a bunch of horse shit. And no, we would never become a fascist authoritarian nation. Let's say it's true, because now we're hearing this from Pelosi. Now we're hearing this from everybody. This is true. This is what's going to come. This is what's going to come. Okay. Can't have that. And then say, well, we would never use our full-throated power. And I was proud of Pelosi for coming out and calling them cowards and saying that, kind of indicating it was on the table to throw them in the little jail. But to say you can't have that and say, oh, no, we're just going to keep doing things. We would never do that. Right? Because why? What do you think is going to be available to you once you lose, once the fascists are in? Why?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah. It's not enough creativity, too much. I don't understand.
Because democracy's not at stake? This is the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It kind of is. Okay, this is where I want to end. Do you have anything to add before? This is where I want to end.
These are my rants tonight. Thank you for being so patient with them.
These are good rants. You had a lot of good rants this week, I have to say.
Thank you.
I want to say a couple things before we close. First of all, anybody out protesting tomorrow, Martha, thank you for reminding me to do this. Be safe. If anything gets violent or weird, just get the hell out of there. We don't want to do any violence. Everything needs to be nonviolent to work.
That's right.
I'm sure everyone watching this is going to practice that, but there are going to be infiltrated bad actors there that are going to try to fuck shit up. And
you can point them out to the authorities that are there. I know everyone wants to say, oh, the police are in on it. I don't know, maybe, but point them out anyway. Film it.
film it, just do what you need to do, just be aware of it. It's not all going to be kumbaya, and there's going to be bad actors there, because everyone knows that, like LB said before, it's an open society, everyone knows what we're doing. We're gathering tomorrow, we're going to make our voice heard. It would be nice if Biden and if the men in power in particular took the abortion thing and the Roe overturn more seriously and were more like forthright about it. I would like to see that. There is no logical reason why, none, zero, that should be against the law. It's stupid in every fucking way that you could possibly imagine, unless you're some religious wackadoodle. Then if your pretend God says so, then I can't argue with that, because I don't know what the pretend God says. Okay, I want to end with this. Last night I had a dream, a real dream, not a Martin Luther King Jr. dream. Okay. And I was at Pelosi's. Pelosi has this house in my dream that's sort of like this big, like the Vanderbilt mansion here and over in Hyde Park, like right on the water, a big fancy mansion, which I don't think she actually lives in, but like that's where it was in this dream. And there was this big event that I went to, and I was invited to this event, and Pelosi was there, and there were people in that world there.
Wow.
And it was happy. Whatever the fuck was going on, it was a happy event. So either my brain, and I never have good dreams. So I don't know, maybe my subconscious is trying to tell me something, but take that for what it is. Tonight it's Friday the 13th. I think there's a huge full moon and something on Sunday that, on the other side of the full moon might come to, I don't know. We'll see.
We can all marshal all the forces around us to actually just get through the weekend.
Just get through the weekend. It's going to be a good weekend. The weather's going to be nice. A little too hot for my liking, but that's okay. Today is also, my grandmother would have been 110 if she was still alive. But if she's still alive, she'd be dead because she'd be 110. But, so, happy birthday, Polly, wherever you are.
Okay, everyone, have a wonderful Is that it? Are we wishing the good weekend now?
I think we're wishing a good weekend. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't. We forgot to take comments from people when we were like, okay, we have nothing to announce. That's when we should have pulled.
I know we got to do. We you know what? We should have a week where we just do that. We should have one of the segments be comments. Let's do that next week. That'll give us one less thing we have to prepare for.
Okay, this is a great idea. Okay, guys, you're all responsible for a segment now.
Yeah.
So get ready.
So it'll in 6 months, it'll just be all just tell us what to talk about.
Just tell us what to do.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good
that's
to
all
see
I
you.
got. All right. LB, nice to see you as always. Everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.